final speaker today, and I'm really delighted that Lorna Turner's here today from the Devon Care Home Collaborative, who I know is absolutely passionate about engaging care homes in the sustainability agenda. Welcome, Lorna. I know that some of that will have already had your head spinning, I'm sure. So I'm sure you're going to build on that. We can see your slides. I'm delighted to hand the floor over to you, Lorna. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for the intro, Elaine. Yeah, my name's Lorna Turner. I'm a former care home owner and have taken the role as sustainability lead for our local care home association, Devon Care Home Collaborative, for the last 3 years or so. This session, I've got just a few slides, and it's really reflecting on the communication strategies and tactics that we've used as an association, but also my personal experience as an owner of, we owned a single care home, 30-bed, residential, mid-Devon, 50-odd staff. Before I go into those, I think it's really important to give a bit of context setting. When we're communicating, we don't communicate in a vacuum. So we're all aiming to sort of communicate in a way that will catalyse that change in behaviour to improve sustainability. We're doing it in a sector that is, has many pressures, whether that's, recruitment issues, whether that's the financial pressures of the sector, the latest budget being of enormous concern, certainly to our members, and the fact, we're heading into winter, which is always that pressurised time of year. So when we're communicating, I kind of try and always take a lot of that in mind. We know from research in the care sector, the Institute's done some research, the sector's done research, that there are 2 key barriers that people will cite on engaging with sustainability. So they'll say, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the financial resource. And I think with time, sometimes they're also thinking it's almost like the headspace to kind of go, this is really big and I don't quite know where to start. So I think there's more to that time thing than perhaps time itself says. We also know some of the potential drivers in this sector. So when CQC issued that quality statement about environmental sustainability, that suddenly became quite a key hook. Now, because of the sort of situation with CQC, I'm dropping that sort of down my agenda, if you like, in terms of how the level of profile I'm giving it. We also, however, know that there is an increasing demand from the customer base, if you like, whether you talk about families or clients or patients or residents. And there's a demand from employees, potential employees, for businesses, for their organisations to operate in a more sustainable way. So given all that context setting, we'll go on to the next slide. I'm relying on Jade to the next slide. I've got a few techie problems here. So simple. So in no particular order, what I've been doing and what I did with the care home, I'm trying to drip feed information in. It's about kind of keeping it in conversation because it isn't at the top of somebody's list. The ways that you can do that may be very specific to an organisation. So with the association, I will use 2 key things. I'll use a monthly newsletter and then I'll use our big WhatsApp group. Not everybody reads a newsletter, so I can use the WhatsApp just to reiterate messages and catch people that haven't. And I can use the WhatsApp either to ride on the back of somebody's conversation. So I'm picking up if somebody's mentioned something that I can somehow weave sustainability into it, or I'm highlighting, it might be an opportunity. So to give you a couple of examples, 2 of our local authorities issued, no, actually it was 4 local authorities had decarbonisation grants going. So it was flagging up an opportunity. They got free information or advice and support, and then if they went through that channel, created their carbon reduction plan, then they could apply for grants. So the WhatsApp was just a way of highlighting those opportunities. And when it's a grant, it tends to get some traction. The monthly newsletter, I might write something, for example, about the change in food legislation. So for us, there are 2 local authorities that still collect food waste with their general waste. As of the end of March 2025, all businesses will need to have their food waste collected separately. So I'm flagging things up to the members that some of them will know, and some of it might just be a reminder, where it's just thinking you need to plan ahead, you need to be looking at this, because we can't necessarily rely on the local authority. We don't know what's happening. So, so there's a drip feeding process to try and keep it top of mind. Next slide, please, Jade. Practical steps. So this, what I found tends to work better is nudging people with things that they can actually do. I don't prioritise messages which will highlight a significant financial investment. So, for example, I could be flagging up on renewable energy options in hybrid boilers, for example, but I will immediately create another barrier to a lot of the audience if I do so. So I will still talk about very accessible things, which although many will have embarked on, and it may be a reminder to complete, you know, energy usage, water saving measures, the low hanging fruit. It is still a way in to some people that haven't embarked on that journey at all. And hopefully you can then put a secondary message which might take them on to the next step. It's not that I don't appreciate the importance of sustainability as part of an overall business strategy. And if anything, I think sometimes doing those small steps can create conversations within teams. And then actually it helps create a strategy that can really be embraced by everyone and acted upon rather than a top-down approach. But sustainability does need to be woven in. So where I can, I will weave in a process. So it could be reminding people around, you know, sort of, have you considered sustainability as part of your induction program? You know, how does it weave into your whole HR strategy? It's trying to make sure we bring everybody on that sustainability journey. Next slide. Keeping the language simple. If you haven't seen this video by Jo Brand, it's a great example of why the language needs to be simple. She basically is having a conversation with a professor of climate science and translates what he says. I can't play it now, partly time, partly blue language. Wouldn't be wholly appropriate. But we'll put it, it's in the link, you can press on the video, and if you haven't seen it, it's a very good video. The point is, it's about trying to avoid the jargon, and like most sectors, the climate change sector has plenty of jargon, and it can be very, very off-putting to people. If you suddenly start talking about, you know, CO2 equivalents and greenhouse gas emissions, and have you considered your scope 3, when they're not really on that journey at all, it will put up more barriers. So just trying to keep it into a simple and actionable language helps that journey for them. Next slide. And I think the last speaker came up with some fabulous examples of stories. You know, case studies are stories, and you know, human beings, we love stories and storytelling, and quite often actually it's the stories of others that help inspire us to make those changes. So I will look for whether it's national examples of care homes. So somebody like Oakland, who's been a previous speaker for us before, Joe Obama, fabulous stories. And if you go to their website, they've actually very helpfully written down huge amount of detail about their mission and what they are doing to achieve their mission. And I can use that and then say, you know, have a look at this. maybe one of these will resonate. Maybe that this is something that you could adopt as your care setting. So there's me sort of trying to find those stories, national and local. And then on the next slide, there's the power of other people telling stories. So actually, sometimes I say, I'm sure people are fed up of me being on my soapbox. Actually, sometimes it is the power of your peers telling stories that has greater impact. And I am all for getting other people to tell their stories. It's a different voice, it's a different perspective. It can build credibility, impact, and instigate that positive change. And that's my mission. That's what I need to achieve. And great if I can bring other people into that process. And last but not least, learning from the NHS. You know, the NHS has a huge advantage of being one body and having quite a significant resource behind their move to net zero. Social care sector, we are a highly fragmented sector. We struggle to have the capacity to take on this work. So where we can learn, where we can apply, absolutely we should. An example which you touched on, Nuala touched on the PPE, and I've also picked up, my example is the Gloves Off campaign, and I looked at some stats. So Manchester Foundation Trust did the exercise 22-23, and their process reduced the use of non-sterile gloves by 14.6%, equated to over 11 million gloves. 40 tonnes of plastic waste, a financial saving as well, you know, perhaps relatively small at 14,000, but significant enough, and a reduction of carbon dioxide too, of 286 tonnes. So it's an example of saving money and reducing your carbon footprint. And where I can flag up examples and stories around doing those two things, those are the ones that people will tend to adopt because it is under pressure as a sector financially. So they are looking to save money. And if we can get that other win on our carbon footprint, then that's great. So that's really just my short presentation highlighting, and we've got a summary as the last slide, just highlighting some of the kind of strategies and tactics. And my final point is to sometimes it feels quite hard, so celebrate the wins, because actually there are some fantastic wins to be had, but we need to take the time to celebrate it. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I know our contact details are being sent out, so I'm very happy, just reach out and I'm very happy to have a conversation.
Thank you so much, Lorna. We absolutely loved you on your soapbox today. Thank you for bringing that excitement to us. I particularly like that idea of dripping the message. I almost didn't remember that I was doing that, but that really is important, and nudging people to do the things they can get on with. I think you've given us such really practical and real advice about how to engage other people to join us on our journey. So thank you for that. That's what we need, is we need the practicalities, we need the inspiration, we need to get on with it. So thank you, Lorna. So with that, it brings us to the end of our excellent presentations today. I'd once again like to thank Manon, Nuala and Lorna for sharing their precious time and their great experiences with us. I've been inspired, as I always am, to hear from other people that are doing such great things. So we want to hear from you and hear and share your stories too. So I hope you have been inspired to take some action, and I hope you will join us on this journey. You're more than welcome to join the Greener Care group with the Institute, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time. So thank you very much.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Elaine. I've brought everybody that's still on the screen. I know that Manon had to drop off. Just to say thank you so much for helping to make the future of health and social care more sustainable, from sharing your experiences today and all the resources. They will be available as part of the box set with all the contact details. Do tune in for the roundtable at the start of next year as part of a Greener Care Special Interest Group meeting, because today we couldn't fit it in due to speaker circumstances. But thank you all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time, thank you so much. Huge congratulations, Elaine. Thank you for this event. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.